Hey, what's going on, everyone? Justin here, and in this video I just want to share some of the, books I'm going to try to get to before the end of the year. November really hasn't been super great, despite it being nonfiction November, right? That's supposed to be the highlight of the reading year for me, but yeah, I've only finished 2 books as of today, which I think is, what, the 13th or 14th, so not, like, super spectacular, but let's just go ahead and get right into it. So one thing I forgot to do in my, November TBR is for November, usually November, December, I always reread something Tolkien-ish in one of those 2 months. And I just totally seem to be forgetting about it and that kind of thing. Last year I reread Fellowship of the Ring. I think the year before I did The Hobbit. So I guess technically this year, right, it should be just kind of continuing with the Two Towers or something. But I kind of am thinking about, should I read something new that I haven't read yet? Or should I reread Children of Húrin, because this I think is my favorite work by Tolkien, Tolkien-esque Middle-earth thing. So yeah, I haven't quite decided, so let me know down below, should I reread something, one of these ones, I don't know. Just trying to think. There's a couple things that I haven't read, new. I love how I'm looking at my Tolkien shelf that you can't see in that video and anything. But maybe one of the ones, those special HarperCollins editions that have different stuff that I don't even really understand and that kind of thing. I don't know. So like I said, I will be rereading something Tolkien-esque, but I haven't decided quite yet. And since I guess we're talking about Tolkien, we might as well add some of the fiction here. So far, I've read 3 out of the 5 fiction works that I've wanted to so far this year, which means if I do read one in November and one in December, I'll actually hit my goal of 5 for 5. And technically, I actually had one before I started that challenge, so I'd actually read 6 works of classic fiction in 1 year, which is... I don't think that's ever actually happened. I think the most I've probably read is probably 2 or 3, in college or something. But so the 2... from my goal, I'll leave that video up in the corner if you want to see kind of my thoughts on reading classic fiction and stuff. First up, we got Émile Zola's The Fortune of the Rougon. This is translated by Brian Nelson, who I think had translated pretty much all of these for the Oxford World Classics. I love Oxford World Classics, by the way. I just think they're just superb and a little bit superior to the Penguins and stuff. But anyways, this is a 20-work cycle of kind of loosely related stories, as a lot of the characters are family members of the Macars or the Rougons. And anyways, it takes place during the Second French Empire and stuff in the 1850s, 60s, and 70s, I believe, in the 1800s. I do like Émile Zola. He's one of the only ones from college when I read Germinal. Was one of the only ones I really liked, and it stuck with me. I can only think of a handful of classics that I had to read for different things in school that I've actually just kind of remembered and things. So yeah, it is one I want to try to get through. I don't see Émile Zola talked about a lot, even though I think he is considered one of those big name French literature canon authors and everything. But yeah, so we shall see. I'm hoping it still pans out 15 years later. And then the other work of fiction here, one of the classics, is the Kalevala, which is the Finnish epic. Kind of the Iliad for the Finnish people and everything. I don't know really too much about it other than that. I do know Tolkien really liked this, and he has I think his own rendition of this, and it kind of inspired a lot of some of earlier stories from Middle Earth and everything. But yeah, look at that cover too. I just think that's super cool. And like I said, I purposely have not had my say, not learned anything about it. That way it's almost reading a big work, a pretty decent size, epic poem, almost with I don't want to say no context, but almost with a blank slate. So I want to see if that kind of improves the experience and that kind of thing. So we shall see. So now let's move on to some nonfiction and whatnot. And I actually don't have any. I don't think I have any. Well, I guess one history-ish kind of one, but I don't really have any works of history. I felt I've done really well actually this year with history. I feel I branched out. I read a lot of really big history books where I think I was kind of shying away from them, kind of subconsciously or something. But just some of the ones I've read recently, for World War I, for, of Q4 of Historathon. I read World War One, The African Front, An Imperial War on the African Continent by Edward Pace. Totally out of my wheelhouse. I actually really enjoy reading about World War One, but this is like a straight up military history, all about like the engagements on the African continent and stuff. But I learned a ton just because that's usually glossed over. My most recent read here with The Missing Thread, A Women's History of the Ancient World by Daisy Dunn. This was just like a really good, maybe not feel-good book isn't probably like the right term, but I just wanted a book, like a big thick book on like kind of just a broad overview of like the ancient world, but it's on like a slightly different lens, kind of focusing on the aspect of women, and this is from like the ancient Near East through I guess the Emperor Nero's the Julio-Claudian dynasty is kind of where it cuts off. But like I said, just wanted like a really nice, just ancient classical history book, and this totally fit the bill, so I was very pleased with that. And I'm about to finish too, is this one. This is probably the book that's taken me the longest to read so far this year. Revolutionary Spring, Europe Aflame and the Fight for a New World, 1848 to 49 by Christopher Clark. And this was a buddy read that some people over on the really cool Historathon Discord put together, and I kind of joined in and stuff because it sounded really good. And I've learned a ton, but it's a little bit of a slog. It doesn't look crazy thick, but I think it's like 700 something pages. Oh, yeah, it's like 700. Oh, geez, I probably might as well just figure it out now that I'm here. 751 pages, 754 pages, plus like another 100 pages of notes and stuff. The paper's just kind of like thinner and stuff, but just really amazing source material and everything. And I've learned tons about all the crazy stuff that's kind of going on in the mid 19th century there. But like I said, I don't know why I'm talking about all these books that I've already read in this one that I want to read. But like I said, I just read a lot of history books this year, so I don't really feel like I need to read anything as far as history to like kind of scratch any itches and stuff. This is like the only history adjacent one. And this is actually an arc I did receive from Crown. It's kind of neat because it's like one of those like earlier ones where it doesn't even have like the stuff on it and everything. But it's On Freedom by Timothy Snyder. He's probably more famous for he wrote like On Tyranny like 5 or 6, 7 years ago, something like that. But he made a pretty big name for himself when he came out with The Bloodlands, which is a book I do need to read. And some others on the history Discord have actually told me, like, just how awesome, I shouldn't say awesome, that's a pretty bad word for that one, just how thorough and good the work is. And the Bloodlands is all about pretty much Eastern Europe and Ukraine and stuff, kind of between Hitler and Stalin during like the 30s and early 40s, and how that was just, the absolute basically mass grave of Europe that doesn't really get talked about enough and everything. I think, I can't remember off the top of my head, things like 12 to 15 million or something, people like starving to death or being killed based on the different pogroms and stuff like that. So like I said, he spent actually several years in Eastern Europe, like getting to know the people, learning the languages, and all that kind of stuff. So he definitely has like a deep respect for Eastern European culture and everything. And this one, On Freedom, it's kind of about, about freedom, its misuse, how it's been misconstrued, how it's been warped, all kinds of stuff. I know there's like personal kind of memoir stuff thrown in there, kind of dealing, I think, with like his time and reflections from like being around the world and things like that, as well as like vignettes and like little biographies of people like who were champions of freedom, especially like during those time periods that I just mentioned from his like other works and things. So it just sounded really good, and I feel kind of guilty now that they sent me like a nice arc and I didn't get to it because I think it came out in September 17th, so way behind on that one, but I feel like it kind of fits the bill pretty well too now that's the middle of November in the United States. As soon as what happened and everything, so I think just be a kind of a good fitting read for the times. And then lastly, we have some science-y books that I want to get to. This one is Carl Sagan's The Demon Haunted World. I've seen tons of quotes floating around. I have a science Discord, and I have some good friends over there that recommended me this book, and like when I pointed out that I plan on reading it, sometimes kind of in regards to like my philosophy of science reads that I've been sort of trying to do, but kind of failing pretty bad at. yeah, they basically said, no, Justin, you'll love this one. It's just going to be like right up your alley and everything. And just like I said, really looking forward to it. I've actually never read a Carl Sagan book. I think I might have seen like one episode of like the first rendition of his Cosmos and stuff. So I think I know more about Carl Sagan from like the other science and like history books that I've read, kind of dealing with him and his wife, since they were both scientists and everything, dealing with all kinds of stuff. In that regard, so it'd be kind of interesting just reading like an actual, work that he penned in the early 90s, and just from all the quotes and stuff that I've seen so far, super prescient. I can't stand the thing that bothers me the most. Like, the reason I started the history reading challenge was, the science reading challenge, was just the anti-intellectualism that's kind of like rampant and like is seen sort of as like a badge of honor and stuff, and all the like kind of like fake science and pseudoscience that just kind of just like floats around, and conspiracy theories and stuff just bugs me the most for whatever reason. So like I said, been trying to read up on some philosophy of science things, and I feel like that one's kind of fits in there quite well. And then I started one of my journals here. I talked about it I think several months ago, and I literally just started the other day, my Gloom and Doom note journal here, where I'm going to put like all my pessimistic and sad and gloom and doom science facts that I read about. I'm just going to incorporate them into this notebook because, that's what I do apparently. And the first one here that I'm going to be doing is a reread here of The Story of More by Hope Jarman. She's probably more famous for Lab Girl, which is also a tremendous read if you want to learn about, like, what it actually takes and what it means to be, like, a high-profile, like, woman scientist in the United States. So she has moved her laboratory and stuff to Norway, I do believe, from what I remember. But just kind of dealing with, like, getting grants and tenure and all the kind of obstacles, like, in that kind of regard. I thought that was pretty interesting. This one is just a really good, like, just down-to-earth, just laying out of the facts, this is, like, our energy consumption, this is our water usage, this is, like, our land usage for, like, agriculture and for other things, this, that, and the other thing. Dealing with, pollution, like I said, water stuff, energy stuff, climate change, oil, everything like that. Plastic over pollution and everything like that, and just kind of laying out the groundwork. This is like, these are just like the facts, and let's, like, you see them, and then it's obvious, like, yeah, that's gotta, like, change. It's like I said, it's the story of more, how we gotta climate change and where to go from here. And it's kind of, like I said, it's kind of like a story of overconsumption in pretty much every sector, and that's going to fill up the first couple pages of my Gloom and Doom journal. So there is that. That's something I want to do, like, pretty much, like, since summertime, and I just haven't gotten around to it. And then this one is also one I started reading. I got, like, halfway through, and it's pretty embarrassing. Like, it felt like underneath the bed somehow, and I just totally forgot about it. I went looking for it, like, one day, totally, like, didn't find it, forgot about it, and then, after a while, like, I was cleaning out the bed and I found it, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot, I haven't actually finished this one. And it's The Heart of the Wild: Essays in Nature, Conservation, and the Human Future. This is edited by Ben Mountaineer and Jonathan Lozos, who each have an essay in here as well. And I just love this. This is about, I can't remember, it's about 15 or 20 essays on a bunch of different, 16 essays on different kind of conservation topics. But a big theme of the book is kind of dealing with, the past, present, and future, in the sense of, what does it mean for, like, where should we go with conservation? There's, like, a bunch of different ideologies of, no, we gotta make it pristine, we gotta make it, before humans even bring it back to, like, before humans, like, messed everything up. What does that even mean? And then how the pendulum has kind of shifted away from that, and just kind of dealing with, we gotta just do the best we can actually do, be practical about different things, because something is just better than nothing at this point in time. So I feel like this one probably also has some gloom and doom stuff I could add to it. But I remember, I think I've read the first, I want to say 6 or so essays, and I found them really good. No duds for sure. That's always kind of like what you risk, I think, with, like, essays is, an essay collection is, some are just going to be better than others. Whereas this one, each one is written by a different person that also kind of runs that risk of, some are just going to be, weaker and stronger than others. But since they're all on like different topics, like kind of like what the authors want to write about in some kind of sense, I feel like so far, like I said, they've been really strong. So I do want to finish that one before the end of the year. And yeah, am I going to read these like 8 books? I think it's 7 or 8. I hope so. Theoretically, it's possible, but I keep getting distracted by pretty much everything else that I'm reading and whatnot. Like I said, November hasn't been super great. For nonfiction November, I was going like hyping myself up and everything, and then I ended up reading like a work. I read finished Master and Margarita. For whatever reason, it's like one of the 2 books, so it's only 50% nonfiction at this point. But anyways, let me know what the one book that you need to finish before the end of the year is. I know a lot of people like enjoy like kind of coming up with like, this final push stuff that they want to finish before, slating everything off for 2025 and whatnot. Let me know down below. Like I said, I'm always interested in hearing what everyone else is reading, what they're looking forward to, and everything like that. But whatever you end up reading before 2025, always remember, read victoriously.